On this edition of KSOP Cross Country, our guest is Joel Coleman, Superintendent of the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. And in your case, Joel, we get to welcome you back to KSOP.
It's great to be back with you.
Now, to begin with, what is the school's overall mission?
So the mission of the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind is to provide the most caring, innovative, and personalized approach to education for students who have any hearing loss or vision impairment. If they're deaf, deaf-blind, blind, visually impaired, or just hard of hearing, we can serve those kids.
Now, to accomplish that, you have several facilities around the state. Give us an idea of what they are and the purpose for each.
Okay, so we have three main campuses along the Wasatch Front. Our headquarters are actually in Ogden, Utah, and that's been a long-standing tradition since the early days. We have a beautiful campus there that's built on Harrison Boulevard, right near the mouth of Ogden Canyon. We also have a Salt Lake campus with two buildings on it. We've just recently, about a year and a half ago, completed a new education center there to give us some more space that we needed and provide facilities for the kids. And that is in the Mill Creek area. And we're currently under construction in Springville, Utah, to serve all the students in Utah County and the southern part of the state. We actually haven't broken ground yet. That'll happen in July, most likely. But we've secured the land and the construction documents are all done. We've been designing for over a year now.
Now, in addition to the basic so-called core curriculum for schools, what classes do you offer that are specifically tailored for the blind and visually impaired?
Oh, that's a great question. We're very proud of some of the enrichment programs that we have. In addition to all of the state standards for academics, we provide programs for our kids that they usually don't get to experience anywhere else in their lives. We have summer camps. We have over 50 summer camps around the state each year. We have short-term programs during the school year on weekends and evenings, and it's really tailored to meet the needs of any students, whether they're in our campus programs or whether they go to school in other school districts. But one of the most exciting things that we do is an international study abroad program. Each year we take a group of high school juniors and seniors from each of the schools, and they get to go somewhere in the world and experience different culture and really use the things that they've learned at home to see how successful they can be in a real-world learning situation. This last year, our blind students went to Australia, and our deaf students went to Italy for about a 10-day experience. And the most frequently heard assessment from the students afterwards was, my life has changed because of what I experienced there.
Now, I asked specifically about what programs you had for the blind and visually impaired, but I should also ask that same question about what's available for those who are dealing with deafness and hearing problems.
Right. So I'll just cover each of those real quickly. Very unique thing to the blind students is something called the expanded core curriculum. And those are 9 areas of emphasis beyond traditional academic requirements that help those students have a successful life, and it compensates for things that they just wouldn't pick up naturally like you and I would being sighted. And so it's things like self-advocacy and just social things that they need to know and have taught to them. For the deaf students, we support both traditional kinds of deaf education, both an oral education where you work on speech and listening skills, where kids have cochlear implants or hearing aids, and we also support American Sign Language in a bilingual program for English and ASL. And any child that we have has access to both of those, which is sort of a unique approach where most schools across the country are one or the other. But we can offer it all to our students here in Utah. We're very fortunate that way.
Well, in addition, the last time we met, you also talked about your programs that are available to those who are both sight and hearing impaired.
Oh, yes. Our Deafblind Program, we call it, and it's actually the leading program in the country. We are the only state that has certified, endorsed deaf-blind specialists. And there is one other state that has the certification, but they don't have any colleges that provide that training. So we're very fortunate, and we have the most expansive, comprehensive, robust deaf-blind program anywhere in the world, really. And in Utah, one question I get asked quite often is, how many students do you actually have here that are both deaf and blind to some extent? And we have anywhere from 130 to 150 each year, depending on moving in and out of state or graduating or whatever. But there's quite a number of them.
And if this program and these facilities weren't available for those students, life for them would be dramatically different and not in a good way.
Oh, that's right. And the effect on their families as well. Of course, families are the primary caretakers of their children. And so having a very strong program is really miraculous work for these families, helping them to learn how their students learn, having professionals there, having what we call a deafblind intervener with each one of these students where it benefits them. It just makes a completely different experience for them during their school age years.
And if you would, tell us about the programs you have for parents and infants, which is another unique avenue that you've provided.
It really is. One of our strengths is that we partner with the Department of Health here, and so we start with kids before they even enter school age. We serve families that have children who are deaf or blind from the time the child's born all the way through age 22. And our specialists in the ParentInfant Program, which we call PIP, the specialists go right out to the homes, work with families, teach them what life is like and what they can do, and really give them a lot of hope for the success those children can have as they develop with the proper supports throughout their life, and show them how they can accommodate them so they can have a quality of life like anyone else would.
Now, what other programs and services does the school provide?
We have a really good sports program for our kids. We have a basketball team. We have a volleyball team. We have programs that take advantage of an approach called maker learning, where they can build things and use the math, the physics, the communication skills, the teaming, and the collaborative critical thinking skills. We had one program last year where our director in the Utah County area took some of his deaf students, went to Home Depot and bought all the things, and each of them made a rowboat of their very own, a little personal rowboat, and went out on a lake and paddled around for the afternoon. It was really amazing.
To have an opportunity to have a practical exercise. I mean, for all of us, we would like to, have our learning skills pay off in one way or another, and this obviously is a great opportunity for them to have that happen for them.
It's really exciting, and to see them just light up when they have success with something like that. We had a blind fellow come in who is a great supporter of our school. He taught the blind kids how to make kayaks out of PVC and duct tape and tarps, and they went and floated those as well in our pool up in Ogden. And then he also taught them how to make hovercrafts with a leaf blower. And just, when they have experiences and they can see how the world works around them and that they can do almost anything anyone else can, it opens up entirely new expectations and hopes for them in their lives.
Now, how is the school funded?
The school is funded by the legislature. We in Utah are fortunate to have a very generous legislature for students who are deaf and blind. And the school predates statehood by 12 years. So we get a little bit of our funding from trust lands that were set aside for the deaf and the blind kids when we attain statehood. But the lion's share of our operational expenses for our regular school activities and programs comes from an appropriation each year from the Utah legislature.
Now, I'll bet that there are some items in your budget that aren't covered by the funding from the state, and therefore there are other needs that can be met with the help of the rest of us. Give us an idea of what they might be and how we can help.
That's right. There are some things we wouldn't expect the taxpayers to pay for. And so recently we kicked off the USDB Foundation, and the main goal of that foundation right now is to collect donated funds. We always have a few people that are interested in maybe giving a little bit or putting something in their will when they pass away. And so we have a foundation that can do that now, and we're working on developing an outdoor learning center where we can take these kids out in the summers with their families, help them learn together in an environment where they can experience things that they might not have right in the classrooms.
Now, how do you use volunteers?
We have a whole series of different kinds of volunteers. Sometimes we'll have scout troops. We had one boy for his Eagle Scout project this last year that built 25 little rooms for babies who were blind and he got all the materials donated, and these little rooms are only about 2 square feet, cubic feet, I should say, and the little baby sits inside and things dangle, and even though they can't see, they can start experiencing sensory things in their environment. And we thought he would maybe build 1 or 2 of them. He built 25, and they're quite expensive if you go out and buy them. So that helped many more than 25 families because they're reusable. After one baby's done, they give it back and it goes to a new family. So that's just one example. We also have volunteers who are college students and people in the community that like to come in and work with the children, either reading to them or doing some other activity in the classrooms.
And I'm imagining that if someone is interested in donating or volunteering, that the first step can be taken by looking at your website for info?
Yes, that's USDB.org is our website, and we're actually in the throes of redeveloping a much better, much more improved website right now, and that should be up in the next couple months. But even right now, they can go to our old website and find contact information for us.
Now, is there anything else that you'd like to mention?
Well, I think the number one thing is that it's such an exciting time to be involved in public education generally, but also especially in deaf and blind education with these low incidence populations. The people we have working for us are the best. They're just simply the best. People who decide to go into this line of work are very special themselves, and we're very fortunate to be working in this kind of environment in such a noble cause, and to have such great support from the taxpayers of Utah through the legislature and the ongoing support of the State Board of Education, which is our school board for purposes of policy and oversight. And no one person is responsible for our success. It really does take an entire team, and our community here in Utah is second to none in this effort.
Now, I'll ask you to give us the website address again, but in addition to that, any other contact information, including any other social media that you would like to let us know about?
Yes, we're available on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we're probably on Snapchat too, even though I don't use that very well. My kids are a lot better at it than I am. But yeah, you can find us on almost any of those major social media platforms, as well as www.usdb.org.
Our thanks to Joel Coleman for joining us on KSOP Cross Country. I'm Dick Jacobson. The program is a public service of KSOP Incorporated.